Roadhouse from 1948 was an enjoyable crime film starring Ida Lupino, Cornel Wilde, and Richard Widmark. It features a smoky roadhouse bar somewhere near the Canadian border, with plenty of singing, drinking, smoking, fighting, and bowling. The film opens up with bowling. Yeah, lots and lots of bowling during the opening credits. And you know, just a side note, I love these old films where you actually see how things used to be. Even the old days of bowling, when the pins would get knocked down, and then you'd have these pin setters or the pin boys behind the scenes that had to kind of quickly scurry around to set the pins back up and return the ball. I bet that was a swell job back in the day. Well, anyhow, the opening credits feature a lot of bowling, and then we actually get into the film at the Roadhouse, which is sort of a nightclub, bar, bowling alley thing. And working there is the character Pete Morgan. It's played here by Cornel Wilde. He's going into his office, and there, waiting for him, is Lily Stevens, Ida Lupino.
Hi.
She's the new torch singer at the club, and he gets friendly with her, but she seems initially cold and dismissive. And soon enough, the character of Jeffy Robbins appears. He's played here by Richard Widmark. And at this point in the film, he seems like just an easygoing club owner. And we discover that he has hired Lily to help, liven up the club as the new entertainment. And he introduces her to the character Susie, played by Celeste Holm. It's a lady that also works there, who's basically the character who's mostly ignored through the film, but still has a thing for Pete that we can see. And her reception to Lily is pretty cold as well. Well, Pete drives Lily to town, but it's not to her lodging, but rather to the train station to send her off. He says casually that, look, Jeffy makes these mistakes when he's drunk and he hires girls and, he's got to send her away. It's nothing personal. Here's some money. See ya. But Lily's got spunk, and she has no intention of leaving. And she plans to stay and sing at this club, regardless of what this Pete character says. And she even belts Pete across the face, too. All right, well, sure enough, she gets her chance to prove herself, and she sings a sultry number. And yes, in this film, actress Ida Lupino does her own singing, and it's good. It's a husky, smoky voice, but it totally adds to the noir vibe of the film. I liked it.
You'd never know it, but buddy, I'm a kind of poet, and I've got a lot of things to say.
And sure enough, the people at the club love it, and Jeffy is thrilled. He's boasting to Pete, but Pete, well, he's still not sure at this point. Well, Lily sings another sultry song, and look at those cigarette burn marks on the piano. I swear that in this film, Ida Lupino smoked so much. We are talking Bogart levels of smoking. And it's a wonder she could sing at all without having a huge coughing fit. But anyhow, Pete listens in the shadows of the bar, and we, the viewer, start to wonder if the words that she's singing are directed at him. He listens and sulks off to do some bowling. I'm starting to think that bowling was a way that guys would go to kind of clear their heads in these old films. I think Fred MacMurray did the same thing in the movie Double Indemnity. But anyhow, after the song, Jeffy shows up and asks Pete to teach Lily how to bowl. Now, Pete's against it, but Jeffy insists, with a scene that sort of shows his darker side.
For me, I don't ask you much. This is something I want you to do.
The I don't ask you for much, with just a little bit of the shade of the evil Richard Widmark that we want to see. But Pete agrees, and he's going to teach her the next day. And sure enough, he gives her some instructions, a little bit cold, while this character Arthur, this little mousy guy, kind of watches. He's played here by Ozzie Whitehead. He's only briefly in the film, but he's a fun actor I've seen in other films like The Horse Soldiers with John Wayne. That was one of my very first really bad reviews. I really should do that one again, but okay, I'm sorry. As you could predict, there is a romantic tension that starts to grow between Pete and Lily, and we know that can't be a good thing. And the next morning, Sunday around 7 o'clock, Jeffy shows up to bring Lily some coffee and kind of breakfast in bed. And during some brief chatter, he tells her that he's off on a hunting trip and will be away for a while. So we, the viewer, can kind of figure out, yeah, I know what's going to happen at this point. She decides to do some bowling, and Pete, who lives upstairs at the Roadhouse, he's woken from the noise and goes down to check it out. And he goes back to bed once he realizes what's happened, but she brings him some food, and she's all friendly. But he says to her that she's Jeffy's girl, and she doesn't take well to that, but Pete is trying to stay loyal to his friend, so far. However, he talks about going on a boating trip, and although she's ready to leave, he offers to pick her up and bring her along as well. Oh, Pete, you know this won't end well, buddy. Well, Pete was going with Susie. That was the idea. So they're out waiting in their Jeep, and after the women make a few brief passive-aggressive jabs at one another, they're off. Pete and Susie go swimming, and alas, Lily didn't bring a suit, so she's just kind of sitting in the car playing solitaire, but seeing that they're having so much fun out splashing around in the water, she makes an impromptu bathing suit of her outfit and joins them for a swim. And this doesn't do much to alleviate Susie's dislike of her. Well, back at the Roadhouse, we get to another musical number. Lily is singing away when this big, Bluto-looking guy walks up and gets fresh with her. And soon, pandemonium breaks out with bottles flying, and Pete jumps in for a big hand-to-hand fist fight. Pete wins, a little bit battered, and the cops show up. He goes to check on Lily, and after some small chatter, they share a little bit of sugar. Oh no. And it's of course while she's holding a cigarette. And we the viewers know that this is not going to go well. But as you can expect, it's instant love between the two of them, and they go out for a moonlit boat ride, and they talk about their hopes and dreams. And Pete just wants to head to Portland someday and get a fishing boat. That's his dream. But will his dreams come true? If he's with Jeffy's girl, well, soon enough, Jeffy's back in town from his hunting trip. And when he meets with Pete, oh boy, he's gone ahead and gotten a marriage license for him and Lily. I mean, that's a little sudden there, Jeffy, but I guess he thought that he had a sure thing going on with her, I guess. Well, Pete talks to Lily about it, and she says that they should just run away and get out of town. But no, he's going to go talk to Jeffy. And oh boy, that does not go well. And we see Jeffy go full Richard Widmark here, and he just freaks out, yelling, "Get out!" at Pete.
Get out! Okay.
Pete decides to make a sneaky exit, and he takes the money that he was owed, and he leaves a note saying that he's leaving town, and he and Lily get out of town and they go to the train station. But they're not there for long before the police arrive and arrest them. What? Well, Jeffy's there at the police station, and he has apparently falsely accused Pete of taking more money than he should have. Pete is arrested, and Jeffy just gives him a malicious grin. There's a court hearing, and you know, Pete, maybe you should have waited and just asked for the money properly during the day and not just leave a note. But whatever. The judge comes in, and soon enough, Pete is found guilty of grand larceny. But here's where things get a little bit weird. Jeffy goes to meet with the judge prior to sentencing and begs him to parole Pete to him. And sure enough, back in court, the jury gives him the terms of the parole. So Jeffy is playing the good guy here, but what's it all about? Both Pete and Lily are puzzled. What's going on? Well, soon enough, all is revealed that Pete is basically Jeffy's prisoner. He can't leave, can't get married or anything like that. Or boom, he'd violate parole and he's back to prison. And Jeffy, he has all the control now. Now later, Jeffy wants Pete to go with him to a cabin along with Lily and Susie with no option to say no. And Pete has had it. He's ready to leave, go across the Canadian border, whatever. And he snaps at Lily, but then apologizes, realizing that this is what Jeffy wants, to tear them apart. And at this cabin, a semi-drunken Jeffy, he's just being this loud jerk. After dinner, he wants to go outside and shoot, and he shoots a soup can while giggling like a lunatic. He gives a gun to Lily to target practice with his hat, and Lily's almost ready to shoot him. And as we get near the end of the film, I'm just going to say, hey, no spoilers, but you can check out this exciting ending for yourself, because it was a really cool conclusion. So some closing thoughts here. This was an enjoyable crime film, and it was neat to see the pairing of Ida Lupino and Richard Widmark. It does really start to pick up more towards the latter half of the film, I thought. Ida Lupino is great here with her husky, smoky voice, singing all of her character songs at the Roadhouse, and really does a good job. Reading her backstory, apparently, she was the one who discovered this original unpublished story. The original title was The Dark Love, and she bought it and developed it and sold it to Daryl Zanuck at 20th Century Fox with the condition that she would be attached as the star. It was a pretty clever move. Cornel Wilde did a fair job as the hero of the Roadhouse. I've not seen him before at anything, but I thought he was convincing in this role here. His character sort of works in that noir trope of the wrongly accused guy trying to do his best in bad circumstances with the crazy antagonist. And I enjoyed him in this film. And of course, Richard Widmark was amazing here. This was apparently his third film, and I caught him recently as the giggling lunatic Tommy Udo in the film Kiss of Death, which was just legendary. That was the film that apparently Ida Lupino had watched and saw him and specifically wanted to act with him in a film together. So that's pretty cool. Now, only a slight criticism I would make in this film is it did feel like there was a weird inconsistency to his character in the film. Because, I mean, the film starts off, he doesn't seem like he's all that crazy at all. In fact, he's just this decent owner of a roadhouse. And I didn't really see that, any sort of like a dark side trigger in his character. Maybe once or twice, he seemed a little, maybe possibly sinister. It's not until the end of the film that he goes full-blown crazy. And I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I didn't really see any hints or foreshadowing of that. But then again, maybe it's just, his best buddy trying to take his girl away was enough to do it and make him totally flip out. I don't know. But he does get epically crazy by the end of the film, and that was great to watch. And it's a neat scene how it all wraps up. I'm not going to spoil any of it for you. Go check this one out. That's Roadhouse. It was directed by Gene Negulesco, and it was produced by 20th Century Fox. It's an enjoyable crime film. It's worth checking out.